Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing very well. What I want to discuss with you today is something very important. Online, every space you find realtors, we're always talking about things to watch out for before you purchase a land. Chiefest amongst which is the title documents. They will talk about topography of the land. They will talk about the access and infrastructure. Some will even tell you about the soil test, which is also very important to check the soil test to know the kind of foundation that soil can take. Some will talk to you about, some legal implications to check that has to do with the title document, whether it's registered. And most of the time, they are talking about title documents, CFO, government consent, right? What now happens to a land that doesn't have a CFO or governor's consent or even registered at all at the Ministry of Lands? Should people run away? Should people not invest? Right. The truth of the matter is that a lot of people like statutory bodies, government institutions, regulatory bodies will want to tilt towards the registered titles. So you can't get a facility from a bank or any financial institution when your title document is not registered. That is a fact. But does that write off real estate properties that do not have registered title? Should we not deal at all? Especially for those of us who are not looking for finance from the financial sector, from the banking institutions. So what are the things, what do you have to do? How do you check a land with a title that is not registered? Because you can't go to the Ministry of Lands to do any check or search. So what happens? That's exactly what I want to dwell on. That a land is not registered doesn't make the land encumbered. We should get that clear. There are some cities that finds it difficult to give CFO. I could remember vividly in Port Harcourt some years back. You can't get CFO in Port Harcourt because there is this cliche that no, we don't want to give you CFO. We just want our land to revert back to us at the end of the 99 years or whatever. So some states do not, right? So, and that's why you find some economic dealings not conveniently carried out in such states. Because if you want to take facility from a bank, you must have a registered title. And now, when a state is not giving you a registered title, what do you do? So, if you find yourself with a property and the property is not registered, how do you check for it since you cannot go to the Ministry of Land? Number one, I call them traditional ways of doing search, especially for documents that are not registered. So such document means it can either be deed of conveyance or deed of assignment or powers of attorney given to you. If you come to Imo State where I hail from, right, you see a lot of power of attorney, you see a lot of documents that are not registered, you see a lot of deed of conveyance and other, and this is applicable in so many other states, right? Now, what do you do? Number one, remember I told you it's traditional ways of doing search. Number one, look at the documents. Who are the assigners? If the document is deed of assignment, you will see the assigners and you will see the assignee. The assigners or the assigner or assigners are the people who sold to the person who owns the land currently. The assignee in that document is the person or are the people who bought. So they are the current owners. So the first thing you do, who is the assigner? Most times they are late, they are dead, right? Because maybe the deed was consummated long time ago. Now, the next thing you do is go back to the next page of that document. You will see what we call reciter. Reciters gives you the history of such a land, who owned it first, sold to whom, sold to another. You will see the reciter. Then from the reciter, you can pick out the name of the family that owns the land. I'm talking about traditional way of searching. Pick out the name of the family, go to such family and go and find out. Oga, we have this property that we want to buy. And from the document we've seen, your family sold to this person. These things might take you time. The family will confirm, oh, we sold to this person at so time. And they might come with their own wahala, like, oh, now you want to buy, you must come and pay the family some amount of money and all that and all that. That's why it's good for you to have a registered title. But in case you don't have, and you want to buy a land that is not registered, these are the things you do. So you confirm from the family. The family will now confirm to you that the assignee actually bought from them, or bought from their fathers, or bought from their grandfather and all that. You can even give them the photocopy of the title document for them to see. That's number one. Number two, find out if the owner or the assigner is late, or even the assignee that wants to sell to you now is late. Please find out from the family of the assignee. The man that is selling, is it the first son? In some families, like in Warri Delta State, you have different gates. Different gates means different wives, family that is polygamous, right? So the smallest wife can have access to the documents, and the son will want to sell. The son doesn't have such right to sell. So you have to meet the family. And if I were in your shoes, I'll prefer for all the members of the family to be the assigners for me, people that will convey to me. So you're not dealing with just one son or one daughter, because you might deal with that son, even though he claims to be the first. And then after a few years, some people will come up from another family or another gate to say, that man you bought from, yes, he's my brother, but he doesn't have the right over the property because I'm the elder one. So that's number two. You must deal carefully. Now, it's a bit cumbersome when you're doing traditional search, unlike when the document is registered, when you just go to the Ministry of Land and you do your search and all that. Then number three, go to such land before you pay, put a strip of sand on that land and watch. In fact, you can even tell some of your bricklayers to start excavation with the consent of the family you're buying from. Now, if such things should start and a strip of land is there, you might not know. The real owner of the property will have somebody farming close or doing something very close who alerts the person that, did you drop a strip of sand on your land, because I'm seeing a strip of sand, and some people are even excavating. If you drop such and nobody comes the first 1 week, the second 1 week, the first 3 weeks, then you can be sure that the land belongs to the rightful person you're dealing with, because he's aware that you dropped the sand. In fact, people will call that rightful person to tell him that somebody dropped sand, and you say, oh, I'm aware, right? So these three steps. Finally, the fourth one is that you don't pay in full. You pay the first installment, make them sign the documents for you, let them hold the original. You could take a photocopy and tell them you're going to pay at so time. That's 2 weeks. That 3 weeks you're going to take from, not because you don't have the money completed, even though you're not supposed to let them know that you want to hold the money down because of the fears of the unknown circumstances that might come up, right? That 3 weeks would avail you an opportunity to also allow time to do its own search for you by virtue of the 4 points I've mentioned ab initio. So if you must invest in landed properties that doesn't have documents that are registered, these are the traditional ways you can check. That a land does not have a CFO or governor's consent doesn't mean that the land is a write-off, or doesn't mean that the land is encumbered. Some people might not have the volume to do their consent registration yet, and they want to sell. So I hope with this few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you. Now I'm sounding like those elementary debates society, right? When it's not registered, you have to do your traditional search, unlike when the land is registered. But that doesn't mean that an unregistered land is encumbered. See you in my next post.